Hello, Serge here for the back porch. Clipboard, have a great question. This one's about some physical issues, and as we know, the Serge swing is the most body-friendly swing there is, but even sometimes we you know, for whatever reason, we can start hurting. And so I'm going to address this question because it's really good, and it addresses these issues about pain. And one of the reasons why, as I've said, many of you are here is because this swing helps get rid of your pain. But even still, we have cases of we can still get it now and then. So let's see what Brett has to say. Brett says, I am sold on the swing. Not really because of pain, but because of hitting more fairways than I have for years. I do have one pain thought that I wanted to ask about. I am right-handed. I have a lot of pain in my right elbow. Is there any errors that have a particular negative effect on the elbows? Okay, Brett, absolutely. The biggest thing that can cause elbow problems is hitting down on the ball too much and taking deep divots, or in some cases, you know, having those big, you know, crashing of the club into the ground where you're ripping and tearing divots out of the ground, and that will send vibrations all the way up from through the clubs, through the fingertips, up to the elbows, and even to the shoulders, up into the shoulders, the neck, and the back. So I've heard many people, you've heard about them, they're in the rough or something, or on the edge of the woods, and they take a swing and they hit a root. Now, those can really hurt your elbow, but they also can rip your fingers, you know, rip your fingers up pretty good, or wrists. And I've seen a lot of guys get into wrist, you know, have wrist problems that could hurt them. And I mean, a bad wrist one or a bad elbow problem would be you actually tore the tendons and the ligaments. But I think that in terms of pain, many times you over practice, so you get an overuse issue, and stress and strain on it, and it starts to get inflamed, and it lets you know through having aches and pains. I know myself, for example, in my entire career, I have never been able to hit a lot of drivers. If I can stand here and hit 200 3-woods, but if I hit 50 drivers in a row, my right elbow is going to start to hurt, and so that's why I guess you don't ever see me hit a lot of drivers. So fortunately for me, I've always been an extremely good driver of the ball, so I don't need to hit that many. And that begs us to ask the question, how many good shots of anything do you need to hit to know that you're hitting it pretty good and you've acquired the feeling that's necessary to hit that shot well? I mean, I think many of us is probably over practice, and that could be a big issue for those of us who've had to take a long time off in the wintertime, and then we come out and we overdo our practice. So you might want to make sure you step up in your practice kind of slowly, so you get your muscles and, you know, working and everything's feeling good. But again, here's another issue. What about arthritis, tendonitis? All of these issues that in many cases, as we're getting older, it can be caused by the weather. It's damp, it's cold, it's been and you've been playing golf in maybe some extremely wet weather, or again damp and cold, and your muscles are more tight, so they've been worked. You put a lot more energy into them, into swinging them, and they've been strained more because they're tight. That means they're not stretching as well, or you got out there and you started playing without really stretching enough to begin with. Whatever, this arthritis and tendonitis comes in, and so those can be a problem too. Now I know in my case, for example, my thumb never over here always hurts. I have no more cartilage left in my thumb. I could go and have some surgery to maybe help repair it. They've offered me cortisone shots. I don't want that stuff, so I just live with it. It's not that bad. I've learned to remove my thumb a little bit more off the club so it doesn't get a lot of weight and stress on it. And overall, it's just an annoyance. Every now and then I'll take some ibuprofen or something. I guess you could call it Advil too, or Aleve. These things can help you on all of these. But the other thing that I'm going to do is, and even to this day, I still get that reoccurring elbow pain. And for me, it's right here in my elbow. Now, I've always got things that I keep in my bag, and like, for example, I've always been prone to ankle ache, so I got these elastic rubber things, these elasticized ankle supports. I put those on every now and then. I've got a rubberized one for your wrist to put on here, and it just collects on there. But the best one I got is, I got this years and years ago when I was still at Harbortown, and one of the guys in the trailer during the Heritage Classic gave me one of these. I guess the best thing is it's a neoprene, I think is what the term is. is the kind of what it is, and it's washable and everything else. This one never leaves my golf bag, and I just slip it on. And I think the reason why you want any of these elasticized or rubberized type things is when you have a sore ankle or a wrist or an elbow problem, you put this on and you tighten it down, and it keeps all the muscles and the tendons in there and the ligaments tighter, which means that if they have less chance to move around, they have less chance of being strained more. And the whole key is to keep it firmer and keep it more controlled, so they move less, which is going to cause less issues. Now, this one I use both ways. This is a wrist one. I can put it on either wrist, or I can actually slide it all the way up here, and I usually put it right up here below my elbow and get it fairly tight. Now, the reason why I was told these neoprene ones really work well is because they hold the heat inside. So if it's hot outside, you're gonna hold that heat in. You might get some sweating and have to take it down and wipe yourself up, wipe your arm off a little bit. But when it's as we just discussed a little earlier, damp and chilly outside and even downright cold, that'll be really great to keep your muscles warm, and keeping them warm is going to help reduce any more injuries. So I play with this a lot when my elbow starts to hurt now and then. My doctors told me it's probably more arthritis than anything else, but I do know it will hurt if I start hitting too many drivers. And so you need to watch your practice sessions, and if you're putting a lot of practice in and the pain starts coming, well, there's your clue. And you need to find out what works for you in terms of how much can you do without getting into pain. And then ultimately, afterwards, when you come home, you need to put some ice on it to ice it down, and then heat, and you can go ice and heat. Should be no more than about 5 minutes with the ice on it and heat, and all those other things. And if you talk to a PT or an OT if it's recurring and won't go away. But if it's something that comes and goes, it's very likely arthritis and/or overwork, overstress, and strain. And as we know, as Dr. Armstrong once told me, tension, stress, and strain equals pain. And so figure out where it's coming from and why, and try to reduce whatever's causing that. And then, as I said, you could always take the Aleve and the ibuprofens or whatever to help you go when you play, because that helps reduce to reduce inflammation. So if it's recurring, it's time to see a doctor. And if it's coming and going, you can use these aids to help you out, and the ice and the heat to help you when you come back from playing. But the key is that it could be the swing. In most cases, when it is, it's taking too deep divots that send all that shock up. That's why we like thin divots. We like shallow divots. We like to tear the grass out of the ground, thin to win, because when you do that, you're not putting a lot of stress and strain on the elbows. And go ahead and possibly get yourself some type of wristband armband that you can use on that elbow when it starts to bother you. Okay, well, that's it for the search today, talking about how we, not all pain is swing related, but many times it is. And so you need to find out which one it is, and then take the appropriate actions. And in some cases, these little wristbands or ankle bands can help when you got them in your ankles or whatever, knee bands, and whatever you need to help you play better golf so you can shoot those lower scores. Well, that's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.